Year 2 in Stardew Valley is often highlighted by being the year of doing things that you would have liked to do in Year 1 if only you had the money for it. Fortunately, for me, I did in fact have the money for it. But Year 2 is an interesting time for me. Historically, whenever I play Stardew Valley, I normally don't make it past Year 1. I find myself really hating the play patterns of winter, and while I know I can just skip winter by going to bed every day, I can tell you it doesn't feel right when I do that. Especially for a project like this, where I actively want to be tracking and recording some things that I'm doing. Because of my hatred for winter, as well as me having 50 save files, most of which are within summer or fall of Year 1, there are a lot of things that I'm just not prepared for going into Year 2. For example, I had no idea that the Skull Cavern Festival was a thing. That just wasn't a thing the last time I was playing Stardew Valley frequently. Neither was Mastery, neither was Ginger Island. Have I been out of the loop for a while? Absolutely. But it's nice going into this game now, with all these additions, playing how I would have back when I was in college, and just seeing how much they enhanced the gameplay that was already there. An example of this is the Mastery perk for farming. Before this, if you wanted to harvest crops with the scythe, you had to download a mod to do so. And before I found out this was a perk of the farming mastery, I was about to download the mod myself so that way I was able to harvest with the scythe. I no longer need to do so. Likewise, with the mining perk, you get 2 gems whenever you hit a gem node, which completely negates even needing to switch over the level 5 or 10 mining perk. To me, I only see this as a good thing. To a person who started playing after me, however, both of these could be seen as a negative, or at worst, not an issue. But with some of my thoughts just now out of the way, I'm going to talk about some stuff that I did over spring because it was a lot of fun. To begin, and this is just interesting to me, I planted over 1,000 crops. Sure, they were mostly potatoes, carrots, and parsnips. That's cool. Still over 1,000 crops planted. Well on my way for setting up for the much more lucrative summer and fall crops like melons, blueberries, cranberries, and pumpkins. Something else I did over spring was I was able to start giving my dinos and my coops golden animal crackers. And my philosophy for this was simple. Dino mayonnaise is expensive. 1 dino will give me 2 eggs that I can incubate, and eventually all of my dinos will produce 2 eggs a week. In the meantime, I still have my other animals giving me money whenever I remember to actually collect from them. And then, in addition to farming, and like I hinted at earlier, I spent a good chunk of this season in Skull Cavern. The Skull Cavern Desert Fest is something I've never done before, so I didn't really know what to expect. But it was a ton of fun. Marlin and Gil are genuinely some of my favorite NPCs. And I really like how, even though it's Year 2, by the second day of the festival, I was already trying to optimize how I wanted to get to a higher egg level without having as many staircases as I did the day before. And I also really like how both the mining challenges and the fishing challenges both felt extremely doable together. I probably would not have liked it nearly as much if I felt like I had to pick between either fishing or mining. And then, speaking of fishing, spring introduced a variable to me that I was not aware of, and I have no idea how to factor into a project like this. And that variable is the challenge bait. I had no idea what this was, but once I made as much as I could and I put it on my fishing rod, oh boy, was I having fun. However, it did cause a situation where I caught almost 50 fish in one day. I don't know how to account for this in my numbers, which I'm going to mention and talk about here in a minute. However, as I am looking at my numbers, and I have them with me while I'm writing the script, I don't actually know if catching 3 fish on the rod or at once actually counts as 3 of the fish in total. In fact, actually looking at the numbers makes me a little confused, so I'm going to share them and maybe together we can figure out what's going on. So to begin, I ended the month with a total of 877 fish caught, for a month total of 241 fish. Compared to other months, this isn't significantly higher than previous months, and in fact, if I run the standard deviation calculation, It indicates that it's within the acceptable 3 deviations, falling within the second deviation. I have a video idea for using Stardew Valley to teach standard deviation in the works right now. But what that means is that this is an expected number. It's not an outlier. This could mean a few different things, with the main one being that this could mean that I just fished fewer days during the month, but caught more fish each day, indicating that the challenge bait does count in the total collected, which, considering I only had 6 dedicated days to fishing this month, this both sounds and just feels correct. To share even more numbers, and because I like making pie charts, fish made up of 76.8% of everything I caught this month. Fish caught from crab pots made up 8% of what I caught. And this number will be interesting to see how much it changes as I remember to actually harvest my crab pots more frequently. 15% of what I caught was made up of consumables, and shockingly, I only caught 1 jelly all month. Now, I have since learned of ways to be able to fish up jellies at a higher frequency. Unfortunately for me, they require Ginger Island, something I currently do not have access to. However, once I gain access to Ginger Island, I would like to try out some of those methods just to see how successful they are. In some other perfection-related challenges, I am now officially 11 items away from actually finishing the museum. I have 49 out of 53 minerals for a 92% completion. I have 35 out of 42 artifacts for an 83% completion. Altogether, I have 84 out of 95 items for a total museum completion of 88.4%. This is exciting. I have never been able to complete the museum before, so I'm just interested to see what happens when I do. I also ended the month with a total money of this for a month earning of this. This gives me a DGR of 29,237, or an increase from winter of about 140%. I have another video planned on showing off this graph and explaining how to figure out this calculation as well. Finally, I want to wrap up this video by talking about my goals for summer. The 2 biggest ones are I want to have the community center done, and I want to be married. I will unveil who my spouse is, hopefully, in the next video. And a few smaller things that I would like to complete in summer mostly involve shipping. I would like to complete some of those more tedious challenge involving the collections tab. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, clearly something was interesting to you, so please click the like button and subscribe if you want to find out more numbers in regards to Stardew Valley. Until next time, stay safe and have fun farming.